I thought I was going to be going to prison right away, so I was like, all right, let's go to Vegas and see if I can kick this. I ended up being in Vegas for 12 nights partying. My buddy went home after like the third or fourth night. That's an interesting one. I actually was thinking about a different title at first, but I do a lot of videos on TikTok, and I made this video called Manic in Miami, and everyone was like, you have to name your book Manic in Miami, because a lot of my stories do take place in Miami, but then also in Austin and other cities. But people like the ring to that. They're like, oh, that sounds like a Chappelle Roan song or something like that. So the name just stuck, and I kind of went with it from there.
So from that, now when people were saying that needs to be the title of your book, were you even thinking about a book at this point?
Oh yeah, I was almost done with the book, and I was tossing around some different ideas, but I agreed with that. I was thinking of calling it something like, I wasn't sure about the main title, but I wanted to call it Bipolar Guy Living Life, because that's similar to my handle. So that's the subtitle, but Manic in Miami, kind of stuck after that.
Yeah, dude, that's money. That's money. That's a book that I want to read as soon as I see it.
Got a ring to it.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, so obviously Manic is a reference to some mental health stuff. What do you got?
Yeah, it's bipolar disorder. Okay. And So I had my first episode when I was 20 years old. That was a depressive episode, and it kind of came out of nowhere. I was in college, Christian college actually, and yeah, nothing really was wrong in my life, but I was hit with this, major depressive episode, and went from I didn't want to leave my room. I was a straight A student, but I started failing my classes. I kind of describe it as like your brain becomes slow as molasses. So you really don't think properly at that point, and you don't want to really be around anyone else. So really I just wanted to stay in bed, stay in my room, didn't want to be around my friends, and just, no one could really understand it because it was, unusual for me to be like that.
And so as for you, as this is happening to you, like where are you wondering what the fuck's going on with me, or you just think you're feeling off and you're just depressed, or like do you know something's wrong?
No, it's really scary. So I grew up in a very strict Christian home, and mental health was never talked about or discussed. It was almost like taboo type thing. And when I told my family about it, they didn't really understand either. They basically told me, it was probably like a sin problem is what they told me, and they were against medication or anything like that. But finally I was at my wit's end. So I went to the doctor, and that was when I was prescribed my first depressive medication.
And so how long did it take them before they figured out it was bipolar?
That actually did not happen until I was 26 years old.
6 years later?
Yeah. I had some other episodes in between that. But I got married when I was 21 to my college sweetheart. But then at 26 years old, I had my first major manic episode. And that's when my whole life basically changed.
Really? And so as this manic episode kicks in, do you understand what's happening?
No, not at all.
So what did it feel like for you?
I liked it at first because it's, you get this like extra energy. Like I was getting up super early and going to the gym at 5 a.m, which I normally went after work. I would show up to work an hour early. I was crushing it because I had this like ridiculous confidence at first, tons of extra energy, but then it starts, getting worse and worse. And like my sex drive went through the roof also. And I had only been with my wife, till that time. But then, there's this girl at my work. We end up, going out to dinner together. I shouldn't have even done that, but I didn't even drink at this time. I hadn't done drugs. I was never a partier, very, kind of strict Christian background. Mm-hmm. But when I go with, I went out to dinner with her. I had tequila shot for my first time. I had a margarita for my first time. Got drunk, and this is the part where I'm probably like most ashamed of in my whole story, because I did end up, cheating on my now ex-wife. Mm-hmm. And, I went home and told her the next day. It's crazy with bipolar because like there wasn't any remorse at that time. There's a lot of shame and remorse later.
Of course.
But at that time there wasn't. I just, packed my bags and left.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I don't deal with bipolar, and I would never make light of it, but being somebody naive to bipolar, or like what it feels like, I always saw the manic side. I'm like, man, that looks like it'd be great. It's just like Adderall, you don't have to take pills, you just high functioning, all that stuff. I remember taking Adderall for the first time, and I'm sitting there like rearranging the cans to all match in the cupboards and cleaning everything. It was like, man, I could conquer the world on this shit.
Yeah.
But, you know, not understanding that there's a yin and yang to bipolar, and then you go on the other side of it. And so, dude, for 6 years you had this, and they had not diagnosed it correctly.
Well, this happens a lot with people that are bipolar, because mostly we go to the doctor when we're depressed, and the mania feels good. A lot of people find out they're bipolar because they end up getting committed to like a mental hospital, because their manic episode might lead them into psychosis where they lose touch with reality.
Yeah.
Or they, you know, like blow all their money and, you know, cheat. You know, all of that stuff's very common, like recklessness, impulsivity, bad decision making. So a lot of times it takes like this major episode and blowing up your life to realize it. Because like you were saying earlier, it is fun until it isn't, is how I would describe it. At first it's fun to have that energy. It's fun to, you know, feel like the life of the party. And it almost does feel like a high from, you know, later I got into, you know, doing a bunch of coke, but it almost feels like a natural coke high sometimes.
Dude, that's crazy. You know, I don't want to sit there and bash doctors or anything, but at the end of the day, they practice medicine. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I've been to the doctors before for mental health things, just with the military and PTSD and all that stuff, and they give you this, all this doesn't work, we'll give you this, we'll up this, we'll this, and they're just like, they're guessing like this cocktail. But I mean, dude, like, the way that impacts people, you know what I mean? They impacted your ex-wife, your life. I'm sure it still resonates with you today. So that's unfortunate that it took that long.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and even then, that's not when I was diagnosed. So I was actually diagnosed a year later, and we can get into that. But I didn't go to the doctor then because again, you know, after I left my wife, I just kept partying, and like literally, I'd probably drank 5 times in my life until I was 26 years old. And then I started going out like 6 nights a week. That's how much my life flipped. And like my family and friends, you know, couldn't recognize me.
Your family had to be going crazy, right?
Yeah, they didn't understand what was going on.
Right. I don't know if you've had any dealings with it and stuff like that, but I know multiple people in particular, and it seems it's happening with young people, but I don't know if it's triggered from the marijuana nowadays, but like how in Texas it's not legal, so we obviously still get the weed from the cartel or whatever, and they're spraying it with all these pesticides and all that. And so like I have somebody very close to me that a family member of theirs, he's in psychosis. He's living on the streets and stuff like that, but it's not, I think they diagnosed him bipolar, or they diagnosed him schizophrenic, and then they start medicating him as such when it's not actually the case. It was from whatever, he put himself in psychosis from like the weed nowadays because it's so strong, or what it's laced with. Like, you seem like you're pretty much in the bipolar world. Like I didn't understand that there was like a whole world of, obviously now with social media, people, everybody being connected and stuff like that. But what is that? Is there any talk about that in your world?
Like talk about
just the psychosis, or it being triggered from marijuana, or any of the things nowadays being misdiagnosed.
Yeah, mental health is so hard because pretty much any other ailment, you know, it's you know what to do with it. If someone has a heart attack or if someone has diabetes, there's a certain way to treat things, but mental health is still being figured out. And just to talk about bipolar, there's no one size fits all for it. Most everyone that's bipolar is on different combinations or cocktails of medications, and what works for me, you know, probably doesn't work for someone else potentially. So it's very difficult. And then a lot of times, let's just say a doctor doesn't know that someone's bipolar, they might put them on an SSRI, which is a certain type of depression medication, and that can throw a bipolar into a manic episode, because a lot of times they need a mood stabilizer in conjunction with the depression medicine, or it can like shoot them into a manic episode. So something like that could shoot someone into psychosis. And then there's just different types of bipolar. Some people have psychosis. I never did. I can't, like, my bipolar is very close to psychosis, but I never like completely lost touch with reality. Some people think they're Jesus at some point, or just these crazy beliefs. But I've never had that. I've had like delusions of grandeur where I think I'm unstoppable or untouchable. We'll get to the crime and all that. But like, I never in my mind thought I would be caught, doing this stuff that I would, in my mind, never have done if I wasn't manic. So yeah, it kind of just changes your brain chemistry.
Right. And then obviously you're probably running around self-medicating with alcohol and then drugs, trying to figure all that stuff out, and then it just propels it even worse, right?
Yeah. I think the stat is 50 to 60% of bipolar people are addicts of some kind. And yeah, a lot of it's to numb, or a lot of, when they're depressed, or if we're manic, it just kind of pushes the party to another level, basically.
So you start bouncing around, you end up down in Miami. Like, where does the drugs and everything start taking off for you?
Yeah, the first time I did drugs was actually in Miami. So I was living in Jacksonville at the time, and went with some of my work buddies and another friend that was a pharmacist. And the first drug I did was actually, I guess it was ecstasy. And well, we thought it was ecstasy. Found out later it wasn't. But we were at a David Guetta like EDM show at Club Live in Miami, and I took it, and I had all the like the feelings you're supposed to have, like the music sounds amazing, the lights, the touch, all that. But then I like lost complete touch with reality when I took that, and I started trying to make out with all my friends, guys and girls. I'm jumping into different VIP sections, just taking shots out of random bottles, just acting a fool, basically. And like, my friends are trying to stop me. They try to take me back to the room, and I told them, I'm gonna wander the streets, kill or be killed. That's what I said. So it was just a nutty experience. They locked me in my room, and then afterwards, there was some other people that had weird reactions too. My other buddy did too, and he like called the cops at some point because he was scared of what was happening with the drugs. But yeah, later we found out, like, this is during the bath salt time, and we found out it was like laced with other stuff. It was like during that, I think it's 2011, 2012, the whole bath salt thing where there's that guy in Miami, I think it was, that he ate some dude's like face off, and yeah, there's that too. There's a lot of stuff. So I don't know what I would have done if I really wandered the streets, but yeah, those drugs were apparently had bath salts in them. Dude, so that was my first drug experience.
You fit right in down in Florida, dude. All the crazy shit happens down there for sure.
A regular Florida man.
Yeah. So were you down there for school? You had moved down there? How did you end up down there originally?
So I went to Bible college in Pensacola, Florida, and then ended up in Jacksonville. And Miami's 5 hours away, so that was our party spot. We would just drive the 5 hours and party there all the time.
Gotcha. And so you did ecstasy for the first time, and then is it off to the races in the drug world for you?
I never really got addicted to ecstasy or Molly. I liked to go to raves and EDM shows, so I would do it there. But that wasn't really an addiction for me. A little while later, though, I tried Coke for the first time. It scared me at first. Like, I was like, I don't want to put something up my nose. But when you see something enough, you get
desensitized. Yeah.
Yeah, and then my friend that worked at the pharmacy, she had some. I was like, okay, I can trust her. She obviously must have good Coke if she's a pharmacist. Right. So I finally tried it, and that's when, from the first time I tried it, I got addicted to it. I was like, I have to have this stuff. So I was like, let me get some from your guy. And yeah, I started using, and it wasn't all day at first, but I was using a little bit, like, most every day. And then it just starts like progressing more and more till I'm doing it in the bathroom. I was a financial advisor, and I'm doing it in the bathroom. I'm doing it in my car. It just quickly progressed to where I was, starting to do it all the time.
Right. I had bounced around after I got out of the military. I bounced around in 5 states in 2 years, and I would end up down in Miami. And I remember I got a waiter job in Deerfield Beach, and I started working at this restaurant. The first night I meet this dude at the bar. We start talking drugs, and I was an oxy addict at the time, but that was me moving away, trying to move away from my problems. And so he's like, I can't get oxys, but I can get heroin. And so then off we went right down down to Miami, and I was hooked on heroin from that moment forward. We went and got it every day. But
I'm glad I never got into that. That's a hell of a drug.
Yeah. Once you start putting things in a needle, it's a wrap. But dude, shooting coke, doing all that stuff down there. But dude, it's sad because like I never got to experience any of the good parts of Miami. I think in the 2 years I lived there, I may have seen the beach one time, but it's just running around in neighborhoods that I shouldn't be in, held up in the condo that I was staying in. But dude, I was in what's the real bougie place right by there's like golf courses over there. Why am I blanking on it?
I'm not sure.
Right next to Pompano, Deerfield Beach, Boca Raton.
Oh, Boca, yeah.
So I started bouncing at a bar, a billiards bar in Boca Raton, and I'd work the door and shit like that. And there would a dude come in there, and he'd have me sell coke for him at the door and all that. Bro, like I'm a junkie, and so I'm literally out in front of this place that I'm bouncing at. Everybody's in the club, and I'm like around the pole. The brick pole, like sitting there using the street light, to hit, and then going in there back bug-eyed like that.
Wow.
And I remember one night I walked in, I just kicked a dude out, and I kicked him out aggressively. Like I grabbed him and like twirled around and just launched him through the door. And I came back in, and this whole time, I thought I had been fooling people. I didn't think people knew what was going on. And I remember the bartender, she's like, "Oh, Shawn, you need hugs, not drugs." And I was just like, they know. But then you're all high on coke, and you're like, they all know. They can all see me.
Right.
But, dude, I look back at that time in Miami, and it's Jesus. It was a rough go.
Miami can eat you up and spit you out. It's so dangerous because there's 24-hour, like Club 11 is open 24 hours, and then there's space. So first of all, like it was Club Live and Story and like Mansion back then, and they close at 5, and then you can go to the afters, which is like Space or 11, and you'll be out till 8 or 9 a.m. sometimes later than that.
Jeez, oh man.
So yeah,
and it ain't cheap either.
No, it's not, and that kind of gets into the next part of the story. This is when basically I got involved in crime, and it wasn't to make money necessarily. It was I wanted to fund my partying, and to party properly in Miami, you need a lot of money. I mean, VIP is not cheap down there. So yeah, I didn't get involved in crime to try to buy anything nice. It was like, all right, I want to party even harder. And so basically how that happened is I got involved with these party friends. And they had a pharmaceutical like marketing company, and I can explain what happened or whatever you want. Okay, so yeah, it was we worked with compounding medications. Are you aware of what those are? Okay, so basically it's a compounding cream where you put different ingredients into this cream, and it would bill out like a really high amount to an insurance company. And the only insurance company that hadn't caught on is TRICARE, which I know you're familiar with in the military.
Familiar with TRICARE.
But yeah, TRICARE was paying out, like these creams did not cost a lot to make them, but TRICARE was paying out like 10 to 20 grand for this cream. Yeah.
A bottle?
Yeah, they were paying that out to the pharmacy. And then so what we were doing so you were in the military. Let's just say I knew you and you're my boy back then. I would say, hey, I'll give you $500 to go to the doctor and get this prescription, and I'd pocket maybe $3,000 or whatever it is on it. You didn't know how much I was pocketing. I'd give you $500, and if you got a 6-month prescription, I'd give you $500 a month for 6 months, and I'd pocket the other 3 Gs. So, like easiest money I ever made. It was really just, targeting military people, military families, and then paying doctors under the table to write these prescriptions.
No shit.
Yeah.
And Florida's known for that.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't original to my company. There's actually a lot of people that got busted for this, especially in Florida.
But I had no idea when I was down in Miami. It's like I asked one dude if he could find oxys. He said no, and then we went and got heroin. I didn't realize how many pill mills and all their shit that there was down in Miami. It would have been probably the easiest place in America to go get those pills, but then that graduated me to heroin pretty quick. So this was actually your company, like that you owned?
No, no, I didn't own it. I was one of the higher earners there, but I was just an employee there.
Got you.
Yeah, some other people got me into it. I wouldn't have been smart at this time because I was using so much. I wouldn't have been smart enough to mastermind a company. I just wanted to party, so naturally my friends that were working there, got me into it. And with this kind of money, we were going to Miami and Vegas all the time, getting VIP tables everywhere and just, doing the most, going to the nicest hotels, just blowing thousands of dollars.
So what do you make in a week or a month?
Man, I didn't even thought about it like that. I made over, during the scheme, I made close to like $700,000 though, in about a year-ish or so. Yeah.
Balling.
Yeah, we were balling.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So when did that all end up? So I know you have a lot of characters in your story that I know are pretty famed in your social media and stuff like that. So I definitely want to get into that.
Yeah,
but how long does this run last for you before you end up getting popped?
About a year. And I don't even know exactly how much I made.
Things burned down quick in Miami because I was about the extent of my run too.
Oh yeah, no, but this part. So I'm still living in Jacksonville. This time I'm just partying in Miami. But in May of 2015, I was driving to work and I get a call from my buddy who worked across the hall at the insurance agency. And he's like, dude, there's FBI agents all over your office. And I thought he was joking. I started laughing at him, but he keeps saying it. He's like, hey, they're confiscating everything. They're even looking through ceiling tiles. And I'm like, I don't know why they'd be looking through there, but
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, like a little lesser,
right.
a lesser Wolf of Wall Street. I didn't quite make as much as him, but I swung my car around. I'm like, obviously, I'm not going to work today. I swing my car around, drive back to my condo, and
you went back to your condo?
Yeah, but I didn't know what to do, so of course I did a couple lines, which didn't help me think any better. And then I was like, crap, I have incriminating evidence here, or so I thought. So I'm manic on drugs, so I'm definitely not thinking straight. But I just grab boxes, throw them in my car, and I start driving to different dumpsters. And I'm like, I can't have this all together. So I'm like ripping stuff up, throwing it in dumpsters, and all over town. And then I drive home, and I was like, I don't know if they're gonna show up here or not. They never showed up to my place. My buddy showed up later. They had taken his phone, and he's like, hey, they raided our office. They were asking about you, but I guess they never came to my house. But that's when me and my buddy went to get a lawyer together. And see, I don't know the exact amount, but I know how much they said. The government said that at that time that I cost them $3.7 million. That's not what I made, but that's the loss amount to TRICARE. So my lawyer told me I was facing up to 7 years in prison, based on that loss amount.
So what did you end up getting?
Oh, you want to jump to?
No. I don't know the chronological.
Okay.
I don't know the order of your story.
We'll go to
you
that.
Tell me where to go.
We'll go to that at the end because this is the longest case my lawyer ever saw. This is May of 2015. I didn't get my sentencing till 9.5 years later. So we'll wait on that.
You had
part.
that hanging over your head for 9.5 years.
Yeah, man, it was it was super. So I had that hanging over my head plus the bipolar stuff I was going through, and so I was manic when I was doing the crime and on the drugs. But obviously, once this happened, I was thrown into a depressive episode, and that's when my buddy had the bright idea. He's like, hey, let's go to Vegas and see if we can kick your depression. And that's probably the hardest I ever partied was when I went on that trip to Vegas. Because in my mind, I was being depressed like that. I was like, dude, I may be depressed the rest of my life. I was scared like that this depressive episode would last forever. I thought I was going to be going to prison right away. So I was like, all right, let's go to Vegas and see if I can kick this. And I ended up being in Vegas for 12 nights partying. My buddy went home after like the third or fourth night, and he tried to take me home, but I had kicked my depression into like full-blown mania. And I was like, no, I'm going to party with all my new friends. So partied there for 12 nights, ended up in the hospital at one point. I barely made it home in one piece. I almost got arrested. I was in the club like doing lines off my VIP table, and a bouncer comes up. He's like, we're going to the cops. He's taking me. And luckily I saw an ATM, and I was like, hey, there's an ATM. How much do I have to pay you to not take me to the cops? And he let me withdraw like $500 or $600, paid him off, and luckily he moved me to the other side of the club, and I didn't go to jail.
No shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Got lucky with that one.
Damn.
Yeah. Same thing happened in Miami too. I almost got popped in there in Club Live. They caught me doing blow in the stall. Bouncer had me, but whenever I did coke, I had this thing where I would hold it in my hand instead of put it in my pocket. I guess just in case something happened. So like as he was walking me, I tossed it between my legs. And when I got to the cops, they kicked me out of the club, but they couldn't find the coke. So I got lucky several times with the blow.
Damn, I didn't think you were doing that while you were, you know what I mean, manic.
I'm doing that, and I'm doing that while I'm facing sentencing. So like I probably would have immediately that shows how bipolar is. I mean, my lawyer told me, slow down, don't do anything that'll get you in trouble. And here I am blowing lines off, I'm manic blowing lines off a table in Miami, or doing a shit ton of blow in Vegas.
Yeah. But after I got kicked out of the military, I started immediately getting in trouble with the law, and so I picked up felonies quick, and so I ended up getting a DUI. I ended up getting 2 felonies in Waco, McLennan County, 2 felonies in Hillsborough, and so I'm on bond in 3 counties. And then I'm in Austin, and still running around, still doing dope and stuff like that. Me and the girl I was with at the time, we went to, you're familiar with Austin now, you've been here a while, right? Mm-hmm. So we ended up going and scoring and shooting up at Slaughter Home Depot. Oh, and I remember looking over at her, and her lips were turning blue, and I was like, hey, you're going to fall out. And the next thing I know, I'm waking up, I had fell out. You know what falling out is?
Is that when you kind of like go in and out of...
You basically OD. You don't die, but you OD, you're gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're pretty much stop breathing and everything like that. And I remember coming to and waking up, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and she's standing behind the car talking to a cop, and I'm like, and bro, I got a can of dope in my lap, needle, fucking bottle water, like all the paraphernalia's out, and I'm like, oh shit. And so I just push everything off me, and I go to get out of the car, and I'm like, I have to stop him from being able to get to the car to see this.
Yeah.
And so I hop out of the car. The first thing I came up with, I was like, sir, I just had a seizure. I'm not sure what's going on, da-da-da-da. And then I hear my phone ring. And I was like, that's my mom calling. She's worried about me. Can I answer the call? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm just waking up out of just shooting up too much, right? Fucking basically OD. And I'm pretty sure this is around the time where fentanyl was starting to get introduced.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't somebody that fell out a lot. And I was unexplainably falling out. And so I go around the car, and I'm going to try to be slick and shove everything up under the seat. And as soon as I go grab that stuff, I had never saw there was another cop watching me the whole time.
Oh, no.
He grabs me, yokes me out of the car, throws me around, and so they're cuffing me up. They go to put me in the car. Well, the ambulance shows up, and luckily she had run inside when I fell out, and she called 911. She didn't understand that cops obviously come when you call 911, or at least they did back in the day. Yeah. She was just trying to get the ambulance, but there's no just ambulance number that I'm aware of. And so they make the cops take me out of the car, and they're like, no, this is an OD call. We have to take him with us. And so I'm still cuffed. I'm in the ambulance. She's in the ambulance with me, and I'm going. I'm like, fuck. I'm in bond in 3 counties right now. Like, I am fucked. Yeah. I'm fucked right now. And I'll never forget. We show up at the thing, and they made the cops wheel me in on the wheelchair, and there was a female cop, and she did not like me. And so we're sitting there, and they're making sure that I'm okay and all that shit. And so I'm sitting there, and she walked up to me. She goes, if it was up to me, I would lock you up and throw away the key. And I was like, what do you mean if it was up to you? And she goes, you're getting released. And I was like, huh? Now, they had busted me with 2 grams of dope.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how am I not going to prison right now? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, what's going to happen? They're like, well, you can probably expect a warrant at some point, this and that. And so it never came. Nothing ever ended up happening from it. Nothing ever ended up happening from it.
Why do you think that?
Because it was an OD call, and I don't think they're allowed to do anything, and then I don't think they ever processed or went through the paperwork. Lucky, but the whole time that I would then have to go away to prison, and then you do your time and all that stuff, I'm still thinking that's hanging over my head somewhere. So as I'm getting out of prison, I'm like, they're going to something's going to happen. And so it never, hopefully it still doesn't, but I don't know what the statute of limitations is on that, but.
On drug stuff, I think it's like 5 to 7. Right?
We're good then.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I looked it up.
We just celebrated 8 years sober. We'll get it.
I looked it up the other day because my book has a lot of stuff. I was like, I don't want to write this book and go to jail.
There's been 3 stories I went to go tell so far on this podcast. I'm like, better not tell that one.
Yeah. No, my stuff is past the statute, so I think I'm good with all my stories.
My stuff's military stuff, and I don't know.
What the statute.
Government. I'm not gonna play that game.
Yeah, be careful.
But, yeah. So you and I connected on social media, right?
Yeah, we did.
And I'm not even sure how, but I just remember seeing you were an Austin guy, and I'm like, how do I not know about this dude? So then I started watching your stuff, dude. And
Yeah.
it's funny as hell. And then to sit here, look at you, clean cut individual, like I would absolutely think you're like some big time businessman, finance guy. Would never have dreamt. And then you're telling, I think I'd flipped through some of your posts and then saw the one of you getting ready to go get your time and all that shit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so, I know we don't want to get into the social media stuff.
Yeah. Oh no, whenever you want.
So at what point in your story do you decide like, hey, social media is a good thing for me to throw this out on?
Oh, we should probably jump.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, let's jump to what caused the social media stuff, because I think that'll be the best, and then we'll jump to that.
Come on.
But so basically what happened after that is, instead of listening to my lawyer, and this is where most of my social media comes in, because these are probably my most stupid stories, but I end up instead of listening to him, I moved to Austin then, and
what was his advice?
He told me like lay low and don't get in trouble, but I was like, what do I like to do most? Party. So I had a lot of money, obviously. They hadn't taken it from me, so I invested in an after-hours nightclub. Me and this other guy bought this nightclub, and I figured if I could own my own club, I could just party even harder. So I, turned the office into a drug den, and just I would always take the biggest VIP section. It was like this basement club, held like 300 people. It's not like this huge, massive club, but yeah, I invested like $80K in the club and became an owner and was just partying up a storm in there. And that's when
the other owners were cool.
Yeah, well, the one owner ended up quitting, and I had to buy him out at one point just because he hated me. I wasn't there to make money. I didn't care about it, so I was just acting the most, always taking up the biggest section. I've dropped bottles on the floor. I was just a mess all the time. So he hated me and quit at one point. But yeah, that's when the cast of characters in my stuff I met them. So I met my girlfriend at the strip club, Felicia with the Heart of Gold. She's on the book. But yeah, she I don't know, she was so beautiful to me, and I tried to buy her a drink, but she said no. I said why, and she pointed down. She had an ankle monitor on, and I thought that was so hot.
You're like, that's the one.
Manic me was like, whoa, this girl could probably keep up with me. So yeah, we ended up leaving there together. Went to 24 Diner, and she had a boyfriend at the time. But so it was crazy. We went back to her place. She got her clothes to spend the night at my house. I guess her boyfriend was sleeping or something. And then we started dating and became basically inseparable at that point. So then I have her and I living together, and that's when I had a different dealer at first, but I don't know why, I got traded dealers. So my one coke dealer, I don't know, maybe he didn't have enough for how much, maybe I got moved into the big leagues, or somehow I got traded to a new guy. But the new guy, we partied all night. He spent the night at my house, and we woke up the next day, went across the street to World Liquor and got a bottle of Ciroc, and we're drinking Ciroc together. And he had showed me apple Ciroc. I normally drink other flavors, but as we're drinking, he's like, that's why they call me Ciroc Poppy. And so I was like, your nickname's Ciroc Poppy? And that I was like, dude, that's the best nickname ever. So that's where a lot of my videos took off, is my my stories about my dealer living with me, because Ciroc Poppy moved into my spare bedroom, and I think he lived with me for about 2 months. And that was the worst possible, thing that could have happened for me, probably, because your drugs are all 1 bedroom away, basically.
Yeah.
And unlike a lot of other addicts, I had a lot of money. So at that point I was buying an 8-ball a day, probably. So I think if I remember right, I would say 8 balls back, I was probably spending $6,000 on drugs, probably 5 after his roommate discount. So yeah, it was the most I'd ever done. I didn't always do the whole 8-ball myself. I would have a cast of characters always with me, but yeah, I was probably spending $5,000 a month on coke at that time.
Damn.
Yeah.
And so how long did it take you to blow through this money?
So that 700 grand, I blew through it in about a year. And between there was the club, there was the partying. I gave a $60,000 loan to a guy without even signing for it. That shows you like my manic behavior. I think he wrote me an email basically, and I didn't even look at it. Was for a company, and I didn't even look at the financials. Even when I bought the club, I didn't get a lawyer. I didn't look into anything. I actually signed paperwork before I even saw the club, and then I cut the check after I saw it. But dude, like manic behavior doesn't make sense. It's like you're really just for me, it was all about like pleasure seeking, like hedonism, money, like impulsive spending. I could have cared less. It was like monopoly money to me. So I lost all of that in a year and blew through all of it, and lost the club, and basically became homeless after that. When I had this like penthouse apartment, had the club, hundreds of thousands of dollars, lost all of that. And when I was manic, I didn't realize I wasn't checking my bank account. I didn't realize I was blowing through all that, and basically it kind of just hit me. And I thought my girlfriend was gonna obviously leave me at that time. I thought she was also with me for money, but luckily I was with her because we were at that point, we started living out of like, I call them dirt cheap motels. I was staying out of there's like a Super 8 right near I-35 in Austin. We were living out of that for a little while.
Stayed there. No, exactly what time. Oh yeah, South Altdorf.
No, I think we stayed at that one too. But there's one right near downtown, off of like maybe 12th Street or whatever. Okay. That's like one of the ones we were staying at. Just cheap motels. We had both. Neither one of us had like our IDs because we kept losing them. We had kept losing all of our cards. So that those were like the hotels that would take cash. So basically, whatever money she made at the strip club, we would use to stay at the hotel. And she was making bank when I met her, but I think she was trying to keep up with me with all the using and all that. So it caught up to her, and we were like barely getting by at that time.
Damn, dude. Keep going with what you're saying.
I think that, but yeah, obviously when Ciroc Poppy and I had a falling out, so, and then I couldn't afford, drugs anymore, so he kind of fell out of my life at that point. But the only thing I could afford is they call them the arches in Austin, like under the overpass. So I'd go like buy like dime bags and like $10 baggies under there. That's all I could afford. But I think that was good in a way that I lost all that money because I couldn't afford much drugs anymore, So that might have been a saving grace.
I remember after I got out of prison, after I'd gotten out of the military and all that stuff, I ended up getting a back paycheck. And I remember showing up to the VA, and I knew I had a back paycheck coming. Wasn't aware of what the size of it was going to be or anything like that. And at this point, like, I'm a broke drug addict still, so I'm just trying to string together a couple $100s a day to keep myself going. Yeah. And I remember showing up there to check on my back paycheck. I'd show up there basically every week. And I showed up there, and they're like, "Oh, you haven't picked it up yet?" And I was like, "What do you mean picked it up?" And they're like, "Oh, it's been sitting over at the mailroom waiting for you." And I was like, "Oh, do you know like what it is?" And they were like, "Yeah, $35,000." And I was like, "There's a check for $35,000 waiting for me?" And they were like, "Yeah, bro, I fucking like fucking road runner over there." And I remember I went to the there's a check casting place on Ben White 35 over there by the Walmart and stuff like that. I paid some crazy amount to get them to just cash the check for me. And so I think it took me 2.5 months to blow through 35 grand. And I was having dope delivered, buying all the shoes and all that stuff. And then, dude, I look back and it's like, dude, I could have invested that in a small company, set myself up, stuff like that. But dude, the amount of when you have money like that, I didn't have anywhere near what you have, but spending habits are fucking crazy.
Yeah, between the drugs and the bipolar mania, because the drugs are the same, obviously, if you have a habit. So yeah, all that together. That's what my friends say. They say no matter how much money I had, I would have found a way to blow it. So I can't really. And I agree with that. I would have died though. So it's good that I ran out probably when I did.
Are you familiar with who Scott Storch is?
No.
He's a very famous music producer. He did like Still Dre and a bunch of stuff off like Chronic 2001 and all that stuff. Very, very famous producer, but like he skyrocketed very soon off. And so he's playing with like millions of dollars. And so this dude's running around with a huge coke habit, buying like yachts and then buying more yachts just because they're bigger. But you hear about spending like that and it's like, Jesus Christ, like I would have been dead inside a week. I don't think I would have lasted. So at what point does the girl look at you and then she's done?
She wasn't. She stuck with me the whole time.
Down ass
shocking,
girl.
Right? Yeah, we dated for 4 years.
No shit.
Yeah.
And she left the other guy for you?
Yeah.
Damn.
I actually ended up breaking up with her, which is, it's tough, man. I still like have like this place in my heart for her. Like she for like, I can't say that about every girlfriend I have, but I know that she really loved me, and that's why I call her Felicia with the heart of gold, because she stuck with me through my worst. Like most people would have left me after I lost the club. I was trying to get a job.
And she's putting up with you in manic episodes and shit like that.
Yeah. Now, she was also an addict. She obviously she had the ankle monitor, so she couldn't drink, but she was you know what GHB is? Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was taking GHB out of like a 5-hour energy bottle, and she was doing coke also, Xanax, a bunch of stuff. So we were both addicts, and we both could like keep up with each other. But I guess I should probably get into first. After all that happened, where we lost everything, we lived out of these motels for a couple months. Then finally we got enough money to get like this small studio apartment. And dude, I remember like it was yesterday going into Target. I think we had like $100 to our name. So we got like an air mattress and then like peanut butter and jelly, lunch meat. That's really all we could basically afford. So I go from living in like this penthouse, owning a club and all that, to moving into a studio apartment with only an air mattress and like no couch, no furniture at all, because I had all this nice furniture, but when I was evicted, I didn't even, like, my mind didn't even think rationally to put it in storage. I just left it all there. So we literally, when we were living out of the hotels, just had a couple suitcases, and that's all that we had to our name.
When did you get clean?
So this is going to go into next. So we are in that studio apartment. Very soon after, so I'm bombing job interviews. I'm trying to get a job to help us. Then finally, I'm at my wit's end, so I did get one job, but I got fired because like my mind was so messed up from the depression that I didn't make a single sale in a few months. So they fired me. And at my wit's end, I finally went to another psychiatrist. And same psychiatrist I still have today. But, I told you I had my first episode when I was 20. So I think at this point, I'm like early 30s, maybe 31 or 32. I think 31. And he finally was able to put me on the right meds, like 11 years after my first episode, and completely changed my life, man. That guy saved my life because, so I had been to a mental hospital before that. I almost ended my life back when I was 27 through one of that was the worst depressive episode I had, but I was getting very close to that level of depression again. So if he wouldn't have put me on those meds, I probably wouldn't be here anymore. But yeah, within about a month, I felt completely different, and that's why I think I definitely would classify myself as an addict, but it's probably, I think everybody's sobriety journey and everyone's journey is different, because mine started with my mental illness and kind of cleared up also with my mental illness. So after I get on the right meds, I was able to quit doing coke. What really helped me is I changed my environment. I deleted drug dealers' numbers. I stopped going to after parties. I stopped going anywhere where there might be any coke, and I messed up a couple times after that, but I've been mostly clean for I guess that would be 7 years now. So I got stable on the right meds in 2018. So I've been stable on my meds for 7 years, and I've been clean besides a couple missteps that weren't long. They were like a weekend type misstep, and I went to Miami and screwed up again. Obviously Miami, I shouldn't be partying there. Yeah. But I think the last time I messed up was a few years ago.
Yeah, dude, it's absolutely different. And dude, I mean, it sounds like you're basically self-medicating any drug addict, we're doing it for an underlying reason. We just
Yeah.
got to figure out what it is. But it sounds like you figured yours out.
Yeah.
So do you start taking the medication, and that's kind of when you start coming to reality, like, hey, this probably isn't the best relationship for me to be in. I need to change some things in my life.
So that's, I know it's crazy because obviously you would think that the whole time, the whole 7 years hanging over my head, but would be freaking me out. But while I was manic and owning the club and doing all that, it really didn't hit me. And maybe part of all that partying and moving in my dealer was so I wouldn't think about that. But yeah, once I became stable, it really hit me, like the gravity of everything I'd done.
Prison hanging over your head.
Then it really hit me. I was like, dude, I might be going away. But I still hadn't. So the FBI raided our office, but I didn't get charged until 4.5 years after that. And I think the statute of limitations is 5 years for that type of charge. So they ran it up against the wire. So I was like, come on, like, I hope I don't get charged. But I got charged in like 2019. And I was still with my ex at that time. But the reason why we broke up, I would say, is because of addiction, basically. Her dad passed away. And at this time, I had cleaned up for the most part. I still drank, but like I wouldn't call myself like a bad alcoholic anymore. But I know when her dad passed, it hit her really hard, and she started, just getting blacked out a lot. I remember one time I got really scared because she I think she passed out in an Uber, and I couldn't find her for an hour. I don't even want to have to get into all of it, but a bunch of situations that I was having way too much anxiety, and I loved her, and I still, like I said, I still really care about her, but like my peace was gone. And I even when that happened, I stayed with her probably another year, but it wasn't getting better. So I finally broke up with her, and that's the hardest breakup I've ever had.
Right.
Because I cared so much about her, but I think it worked out well for her now. She's in a very good committed relationship. She has a kid and is about to have another one. So I root for her from afar, and I really still care about her.
Right. Well, good. I'm glad she got her. I was gonna say, if she ever reaches out to you and needs help, let me know. I could probably get her plugged in somewhere. But I'm glad to hear she's doing well.
Yeah, she has a good job now. Obviously, she's done with the dancing, and I'm proud of what's happened in her life.
Hell yeah. So now let's go to so now you have to. Eventually, the hammer's coming down, and you have to go show up for your sentencing, and then this is where the social media stuff happens, right?
Yeah. So I went to my first sentencing hearing was, I think, in 2021, and I'll just tell both real quick. This is the first one. So in 21, I had my first sentencing hearing in Jacksonville, and because me and my buddy pled guilty pretty early, I went to like a proffer hearing, and they showed me all the mountain of evidence they had against me, so we pled guilty with that. Luckily, they didn't even ask me to talk. They were gonna at first, but when I showed up to that proffer meeting, I was high. Like, I was on Xanax and I think coke when I met with the FBI, and they're like, this motherfucker is not in the frame of. They didn't know that, but they didn't know I was on anything, but they knew I was like spaced out and messed up. So luckily, like, I didn't get asked to have to testify against anyone. But when I went there, it was like super surreal experience. They in court, I didn't know what they were going to recommend, but they recommended me down to 2.5 years when I was in that hearing. And then you get up and do your speech and all that. And during that, I realized the judge, my probation officer, had never given her any of my like bipolar paperwork. He just had given her like a brief write-up about it. So luckily, I brought all my records, and I asked her if I could bring them up to her, and she started looking through all of them. And at the end, she's like, Mr. Funes, I can't sentence you today. I didn't understand the extent of your mental illness. And I think I was about to get the 2.5 years if I hadn't brought her that paperwork. So she's like, we're going to reschedule this to a later date. And it was supposed to be soon, but I had to wait 2 more years till 2023, December of 23. So it started in May of 2015. My actual sentencing hearing was December of last year. And I had already decided at this point that I I finally decided I wanted to use my story to help others who were struggling. And I had already kind of started doing that on social media and making videos. But when I was on the way there, I had this like stupid idea, I guess. I was like, I'm going to make a video, in the airport that I'm on the way to my sentencing. So I just pulled out my phone, in the airport. I'm like, hey, I'm on the way to my sentencing. And I didn't really expect anything of it, but that video like blew up. It got like 3 million views, and all these people are like, what's going to happen to this guy? Is he ever going to make another video again? So it just got kind of weird with that. But thankfully, I think mostly because it dragged on 9.5 years, and also like probably due to my mental illness and all that, I got a time served sentence, so I didn't have to do any time. Yeah, I mean, my lawyer argued basically 9.5 years of something hanging over your head is a different kind of, it's like a mental time. And it was, but thankfully I didn't have to do any like hard time in prison.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Did anybody try to say you snitched and that's why you didn't get any time?
No, because nobody
got popped?
Well, 2 people did. There's 13 of us originally, and the main guy actually, he was considered the main guy by the court. I'm not going to say like if he was actually involved or not, but who they thought was the kingpin, blah blah blah. He ended up getting off. He was found guilty, but then I guess there was this whole witness situation, and his lawyer got his stuff thrown out in court. So the top guy gets off completely. Our stuff gets dragged 9.5 years, and the court was almost seemed frustrated with the government for like just letting this crazy thing go on. It's the longest case my lawyer was ever a part of. So they gave all of us time served except for 2 people. They were 2 of the highest up guys, but they also had prior felonies. So I think they had to give them time probably, but the one guy got 1 year, the other guy got 4 months. And I think those guys were facing over 10 years. So everyone got very blessed, I guess, with their sentences, even those guys that had like several priors. Yeah.
Damn, dude. Yeah, my case got continued for a couple years, but I was in treatment and I was doing all that stuff. But just having that constantly hang over your head it's not easy at all.
Yeah.
And so you just continued on with the social media stuff, and
I honestly didn't know. So I was like on a trip in Southeast Asia, and I did a solo trip, and I highly recommend those for anyone that can, because I figured out like I spent, when you spend so much time by yourself, you can do a lot of thinking. And I was like, man, I've lived most of my life. It's been so chaotic, and I've kind of lived for myself, but I've learned a lot, and I think I can help others that are struggling, with my story. So when I came back, I'd lost a job before that because they found out about my felonies. So when I came back, I actually took a job. Instead of working in finance, making a bunch of money, I took a job as a delivery driver, but I knew that wasn't my purpose in life. So on the side, I'm making videos. I was going to Toastmasters a couple times a week to practice public speaking. I think what I looked at is I'm going to go through every door I can and try to figure out what works and what doesn't. So I started doing some coaching. I was just doing everything and to see what worked, because I just wanted to share my story and figure out kind of what door opened. But yeah, that's when the social media kind of started taking off. And at first, before that, going to my sentencing, I was doing a lot more serious videos. But then I realized like there's a lot of humor in my stories that I didn't even get into. People can see that on my social media, the crazy stories. But that's really what people resonated was like my dealer living in my spare bedroom, all the other characters that I talk about. After he moved out, I let this hooker named Old Girl live in my spare bedroom to watch the place, because I kept losing my key and my landlord was starting to kick me out. That's how messed up I was, like mentally. I wasn't doing anything with her, but I was letting her do tricks in my spare bedroom in exchange for watching the place while I was gone. So it's just a bunch of crazy stories. So I finally start telling those stories on social media, and a lot of people were saying, hey, I feel like seen and heard and understood, just because I've done crazy things too, whether it was bipolar or borderline or just any type of thing. I think people were just, the stories is what really started to resonate. So I kind of pivoted and I've been sharing my stories kind of ever since.
What's that feel like for you to get messages and know that you've taken all this pain and give it a little bit of purpose to help people, and now you get these messages from people saying that it's helping?
It's the best feeling in the world. I remember the first time I did a coaching session with someone, man, like when I got off the coaching session, I had tears in my eyes, and I was like, man, this is what I meant to do. Mm-hmm. Working in finance, it was good money and all, but I didn't feel like anything here. And now I feel like I'm actually making an impact in the world, and I'm sure you do too. Mm-hmm. If we both have these stories that we've been able to turn into something good and help people, I'm assuming you feel the same way when you get your messages.
Yeah, dude, this is my purpose.
It's so rewarding.
Yeah. I'd say it 100 times a day, but I didn't know a world existed where we could do this. You know what I mean? I never thought all the shit that I went through, like, I thought it was going to be something I was ashamed of for the rest of my life, something I had to dig deep down in. But the more vulnerable with it, the more I open up about it, the more people it seems to help. So
yeah,
we're riding with it.
And not everyone, I think more people would probably share their story, but not everyone can. A lot of people have jobs, that they can't share. So I think for me, getting fired from my job, I was making great money, but getting fired was the best thing that could have happened because I was too comfortable. But that was the catalyst that made me realize, like, David, you're wasting your life and wasting all your experiences if you don't share these things with other people.
Right.
And so right now it's not about money. I could care less about money. It's about helping as many people as I can. And same as you, like getting messages or having people, read my book and say it really helped them. That's the most rewarding thing, that I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, for sure. So what was the process for you, like, writing the book? Like, when did you decide, like, all right, this needs to be a book and I'm going to buckle down and do this?
Man, it's been a process. I actually started writing and I wrote the first draft in 2021, but I'm not like I'm not a normal writer. So I wrote it in 2021. I didn't think it was good enough. Then my psychiatrist told me I should write like a movie script about my life. So I wrote that in like 22 or 2023, but I still wasn't happy with it. But through that process, I became a pretty decent writer, because that took me 2 years to, like, just on and off throughout to write the book and the script. So finally this one I started writing about a year ago, and I was finally like, this is the message that I want to put in the world, because I wanted to, like, tell all the crazy stories. So the first half of the book is called The Chaos, and it's just all the wild drug stories and crazy cast of characters. But then the second half is called The Comeback, and I wanted to write out exactly how I came back from everything, and because I think a lot of the crazy stories, maybe not everyone can relate with the FBI stuff and some of the stuff I went through, but I think everyone can relate with the comeback, being down and out, like being homeless like I was, having to start over from nothing twice, delivering at Amazon and just rebuilding your life. I think a lot of people in our circles that have been down and out can identify with that. So the first part is probably entertaining, but the more important part is, like, I want to encourage people who are struggling, that they can be resilient also, and that there can be a beautiful, like, a good, meaningful life for them as well if they don't give up.
Right. Yeah, dude, if you wrote a book just with all the crazy stories or anything like that, then it wouldn't be a positive thing. But telling those stories is what lets people know, like, oh, we're the same. You know what I mean? Then they're bought into you. Then they're going to listen to the positive message at the end. So what you're doing, bro, keep doing it, because if it's helping people, bro, it's the biggest thing that's ever helped me.
Yeah.
Double down on that shit and keep going. So where can everybody find the book?
Yeah, so the book, Manic in Miami, it just came out. It's a new release. It's been out about a week now.
Bestseller, right?
It did hit bestseller in its category, yeah. One thing that helped it, besides, like, my audience, who are awesome, shout out to my audience, but I had an article on People, like, for People magazine, and that came out, like, right when the book came out, so that it did hit number one in its category for a short amount of time. So I was like, yeah, I can say that it was a bestseller at least for a little bit. Yeah, but they can find it on Amazon.com. yeah, that's the main place you can find it.
Dude, please get me a copy. I'll put it up here.
I'll do that for you.
It'll be on display for everyone.
Yeah, I brought the author copy. You can see the line through it. But yeah, I'll definitely get you a copy. Yeah, a bunch of crazy stories, but also I think it really will encourage a lot of people who are struggling.
Hell yeah. And dude, I want to give you some props because you and I, we met for coffee. We shot the shit a little bit. I invited you out to the run crew we do on Saturdays. You're not even a runner. You fucking showed up, held it out the whole time. So props to you, dude, because I know it's, especially not being a runner, stepping onto the running world can be an intimidating thing, but you knocked that shit out of the park.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. I mean, I've only known you a couple of weeks, but I feel like we're already brothers, and I'm very thankful. That's the great thing about social media. You could just meet great people, find great groups like Redemption Crew, and yeah, it was a pleasure to run with you guys and to meet everybody. And you're doing great things as well, and I'm excited to see how the Redemption Crew keeps growing.
Dude, me too. It's something cool going on, and it's cool to find somebody out there that's doing the same thing, because this shit gets lonely, man. Like, we're out here on this constantly on our phones doing this stuff. Yeah. It's like everybody sees the side of what we're posting. Yeah. They don't see the other side of what it goes in to film all this shit, edit all this stuff. Like, it's a lot of long nights, early mornings, and all that kind of stuff.
It's a grind for sure. But yeah, you and I made a video together, and I was really happy because I think us together, we may. There's different people that might relate. We look we look very different. We both have crazy stories, but I saw through our video, different people, they're like, hey, I want to join your crew. Like, I think that's the cool thing is we all have different experiences and might attract different people to our stories. So it's awesome to see everyone from different walks of life. So I thought it was awesome that you're helping so many people too.
Thank you, dude. Yeah, it's cool. Like there's some people out here like us that we get it, where it's like, man, like, awesome, my people can tap into him now, his people can tap into my stuff now. But there's other people that aren't that, like, they want to do it just them, and that's fine. They can do their thing. But like, I love meeting people like you. I love people that are on the same grind, doing the same shit. And just how can we help each other? How can we help further your message? At the end of the day, this is a platform. I want to platform the messages and the voices that I believe in. So
yeah,
you belong here, bro.
Yeah, I hate that people do that. Have like that scarcity mindset, because at the end of the day, we all should be here to help people. So who cares if some people resonate more with your message or mine, or maybe they'll resonate with both of us. But at the end of the day, that's a scarcity mindset, and I'm glad we don't have that.
Right. All right, so this is my favorite question to ask. I ask it every episode. Okay. Hypothetically speaking, you're walking out for the UFC Championship of the World tonight. What's your walkout song?
What is my walkout song?
That one song that just gets you going, you're ready to wreck shop.
Oh, man. The first thing that came into my mind was Jeezy Soul Survivor.
There you go. Did you have a Coke song?
My Coke song. Let me see. I had a lot of Coke songs. Me and Ciroc Poppy were always listening to like Dirty South type stuff. We did a lot of T.I. T.I. stuff is what we'd listen to. I think his favorite song was that Ice Cream Paint Job song. Such a ridiculous song.
I'd get all yacked out on Coke, and for whatever reason, I'd fast forward the movie Boondock Saints to the end. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
When they're in the music's getting all intense, and they're in the courtroom at the end, and they're getting ready to kill old boy, I would just get all yacked out on Coke and just sit there and watch the end of Boondock Saints over and over. There you go. So, bro, my Coke days were dark days. Dark days.
Yeah, some people, my mind turned out dark, but I had a lot of, it sounds like, but were you shooting up pretty quickly? I've never shot up.
After years of putting it up my nose, yeah. Once I discovered a needle, everything went in a needle. And it just takes Coke to a whole new level. But I would sit there and shoot so much Coke that I'd be like leaned over the toilet like, I'm gonna die, and then 30 seconds later be loading it up to go again. It's just miserable. Yeah. Don't miss those days, bro. I'm fucking super proud of what you're doing. I hope that book continues to soar and help a lot of people and entertain them. Where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm mainly on Instagram and TikTok at Bipolar Guy Loving Life.
Have you thought about changing it to Manic in Miami?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it yet.
Dude, it's so catchy. I mean, that's a whole brand.
We got it with the book at least. Yeah,
for sure. Dude, the way we like to wrap up the episode, first of all, thank you for braving the traffic. Thank you for coming down, sharing your story.
My pleasure, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, dude. It was an honor. And dude, let's down the road, I'm sure you're going to be doing other big things. We'll absolutely have you back on. But the way we like to wrap up the episode, if you'd be so kind, they've heard your story, they know a little bit about you. But if you take a look in your camera and maybe throw out some I am statements to let the people know who you really are.
All right. I would say I am resilient. I'm an overcomer. I'm bipolar.